A comet strikes the planet, leaving only 1% of the population. The world has been split into those who get supplies and those who don't. There are men who now have what is the most important and the most dangerous job, the delivery men. They have to navigate through dangerous terrain and fight off raiders. Amongst the most effective and legendary delivery men is 5'8". Sawo is a young refugee. He desires to be a delivery man. By day, he hangs with his buddies from the refugee camp. Sawo was rescued by two sisters, Sioa and Soa. They are housing him illegally. After being out past curfew, they ground him for 15 days. 5'8" gets a distress call that one of his fellow delivery men is getting jacked. He shows up and gives the bad guys a chance to just walk away. They make the wrong decision and catch an ass kicking. 5'8" shows them some mercy by not killing them. By the way, during all of this, 5'7" was of no help. I think he was in the fetal position crying. We meet the villain, Ryozu. He is of the opinion that the refugees should be erased from the planet. His father is Chairman Ryo. He's the head of the all-powerful Chumyoung Corporation. In his discussion with the president, he admits that he's responsible for a lot of the good and a lot of the bad since the disaster. He has to put his son in check for being overly ambitious. Grandpa is the mentor to the boys in the refugee camp. One day the boys go out to jack a delivery truck. Sawo crawls his way into 5'8's truck, and 5'8 crawled his ass right out the door. Sioa is a member of the Ministry of Defense. When she tries to find out what's happening behind the walls of Chumyoung, she is rebuffed. And later that night, she crosses paths with 5'8. He tells her that he was lost, but he was actually delivering supplies to the refugees. Sawo sneaks back into the sister's apartment. He gets caught and Soa locks him into his room. She then gets a supply delivery from 5'8. He's filling in for 5'7, who is taking a vacation day. When she sees that it's 5'8, Soa goes all fangirl for the legendary delivery man. After 5'8 leaves the apartment, we see 5'7 buzzing himself into the building. He was supposed to be on vacation. All of a sudden, armed men break into Soa's apartment and knock her to the ground. As they prepare to inject her, they hear Sawo kicking in his door as he's viewing this intrusion from his room. Sawo manages to escape his room and take down the intruders in a gunfight. When he checks on Soa, he finds out that she's been struck dead. From behind, we see one of the surviving gunmen put a gun to the back of Sawo's head and shoots him. End of episode. "5'8" hears gunshots from the apartment that he just left and sees a man fleeing. He goes back to the apartment. Inside, he finds Sawo and Soa lying dead. He makes note of a photo of Sioa, who had pulled him over just the other day. He also notices the triangle tattoo of one of the fallen gunmen. As he's calling in this crime to the authorities, he notices Sawo's finger flinch. He's alive. 5'8 scoops him up and drives him to the hospital. Sioa comes home to view her slain sister. Her comrades offer her any assistance that she may need. She reflects back on the day that she and her sister rescued Sawo as a young child. Sawo wakes up in the hospital thinking about the sisters. He wants revenge but has to be held down by 5'8. The nurse shows 5'8 the bullet that struck Sawo. Sawo's head did more damage to the bullet than the bullet did to Sawo's head. 5'8 goes in and takes a look at Sawo's ankle. Through the broken skin, it appears to be metal. Ryo is popping pills like a 90-year-old man. That boy is sick. Sioa lays her sister to rest. She then breaks the news to Grandpa about Sawo being shot. Sioa interviews 5'8. Since he had just finished a delivery to the apartment, she throws it out there that maybe he was involved. Maybe he left the door open for the killers. She wonders if her sister's killing is related to the rash of missing children. She's really just fishing for an explanation. Sioa remembers how she first met Sawo. During her training, her trainers and other recruits were just straight up killing refugees. She was reprimanded for showing mercy. She spotted a young Sawo hiding from them. Later that night she returned, found him, and took him in. Back to the present. Sioa returns to her apartment and finds Sawo there. He's going through the family photos. Sioa gives Sawo Soa's ashes and tells him that he doesn't have to stay there with her and that he can return to his refugee family. Crushed by the events, Sawo is on some sort of death wish. He encounters a group of rogues and starts a fight. He's getting beaten to death when his refugee brothers show up. The beatings stop when one dude cracks him in the head with a baseball bat. This puts Sawo out for 2 weeks. Mr. Zhu calls in some underlings into his office. Turns out the 5-7 was working for him. Mr. Zhou gets on him about failing to grab the girl, Soa. 5-7 asks him if the children are being grabbed for experiments. Mr. Zhu tells him he doesn't need to worry about that. He needs to worry about what's implanted in the back of his neck. Mr. Zhu's father tells him that he doesn't trust him. Later on, Mr. Zhu gets blood transfusion. He is sick. 5-8 rescues some kids being prepped for experiments. He visits Grandpa and tells him about the metallic skeleton that Sawu has. He believes that Sawu is a mutant due to his father working in the mines. He thinks that this is why Sawu was targeted for abduction. Sioa gets pulled from the case. She's too close to the victims. However, her team vows to continue the investigation for her. Returning to headquarters, 5-8 catches 5-7 trying to kill himself. 5-7 tells him about the child experiments that Mr. Zhu is conducting. Back at Mr. Zhu's office, he taps a button. A damn pending symbol lit up in the back of 5-7's neck. A few seconds later, tick, 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 that dude was dead. To replace 5-7, Mr. Zhu decides to hold a contest. The popularity of this contest will take away some of the spotlight of the child abductions. By way of his refugee brothers, Sawo gets word of the contest. This is his chance to become a delivery man. He gets 5-8's attention by blocking the pathway in the middle of the road. End of episode. We get some back history on 5-8. He was once a refugee kid himself. After a mass slaughter in his village, he was left for dead. He rose up and killed the perpetrators. He then vowed to Grandpa that he would do whatever he had to help other refugees. Sawo wants 5-8's assistance for the contest. 5-8 tells him that he must first prove himself worthy. 5-8 assembles a team of delivery men to help him find more abducted kids. Sioa's men give her the 411 on the location of 5-8. Thinking that she would catch 5-8 slipping, she's greeted by 5-8 at the door, with his men training in the background. 5-8 shares information with Sioa. He tells her about 5-7 and what he said about the abducted kids. He then gives her the design of the tattoo of one of the killers. 5-8 begins training Sawo. He starts by taking it easy on him, but turns up the heat and whoops his ass. Sawo has a long way to go. Sawo goes through registration. He passes the first test of being physically fit enough to compete in the competition. Back at camp, he's a little down that he's been reduced to being only a number 34. 5-8 reminds him that he too is now just a number. Training continues, Sawo improves. At this point, the show goes a little Squid Games. The next stage is a last man standing fight. Helped by some of the lessons from 5-8, Sawo manages to advance along with 5 others. The climate has changed and relocation plans are necessary. Mr. Zhu does not plan on moving the refugees. He plans on eliminating them. He wants the military's assistance with this. Sioa plays along. Mr. Zhu then learns that his father will be his biggest obstacle in getting his plans done. Well, it's time for the next stage of the competition, and 5-8 finds himself in the same room with Mr. Zhu. This stage of the competition consists of a survival driving course. The first 2 contestants to cross the finish line advance to the finals. Along the course, There are raiders and hunters trying to stop the contestants. There's a lot of gunplay, a lot of side swiping. Eventually, Sawoo's car gets flipped over. Sawoo exits his car. He notices that contestant number 3 is stuck. He offers to give her a push and then work together. He gets the car free and off they go. However, number 3 is pulled out of the driver's seat. Sawoo takes the wheel and then notices that number 3 has been pinned down by enemy fire. One driver has already crossed the finish line, and Sawoo has a free shot to take second place. However, this means him leaving number 3 to die. What will he do? End of episode. Okay, let me start out with an apology for all the names that I mispronounced. I tried my best. The show is entertaining, I'll give it that. It's not the most complex or cerebral viewing, and that's not really what I expected. That said, it did exceed my expectations by an inch. It is shot very well. I'll give it a 6. I'm in on it if I can find some free time, but by no means am I rearranging my schedule to watch the rest of it.